Good afternoon and welcome to Toronto Police Headquarters. I would like to introduce Chief Mark Saunders. He will be providing an update on the ongoing investigation into homicide number 29 and number 30 for 2015. Chief?
Good afternoon. On Tuesday, August 4th, 2015, at approximately 3:20 in the morning, gunshots rang out in the patio of the Muzik Nightclub. Minutes later, while officers were responding to the scene, more shots rang out on Dufferin Street just north of Dufferin Gates. 5 people were shot in the 2 incidents. One male, Duval Hibbert, 23 of Brampton, was pronounced dead on the patio of the nightclub. 3 others, 1 female and 2 males, suffered gunshot wounds. The female was treated in hospital and has since been released. The 2 males suffering very serious injuries still remain in the hospital. One of these males managed to make his way to the Dufferin Street and College area, where he sought out help by a passing ambulance. A female, 26 years old, Ariella Navarro Fenoy, who was walking with friends from the club, was struck by a round fired during an altercation between several people in the immediate area. She had not been involved in any of the incidents which resulted in the 2 shootings. An appeal for video and pictures from the patrons of the club has yielded very little. Only a few of the thousands of people in the club and immediate area have contacted the homicide investigators. However, descriptions of the 2 suspects, each connected to the respective scenes, has been released. Suspect number 1 at the Dufferin Gates, witnesses have described as male, brown skin, skinny build, 24 to 28 years of age, wearing a yellow burgundy plaid button-up shirt, 5'10", 5'11". The suspect described for the shooting inside the club, male black, 6'1", 6'2", 25, 26 years old, fresh buzz cut, light purple crew neck sweater with colorful design on the front, dark blue jeans. I can tell you that forensically, we have connected both scenes. With respect to homicide number 32, which occurred this Sunday, Bay Street south of Dundas at approximately 2:43, where shots were fired, Kabal Abdul Kadar, 27 years old, is deceased. Good cooperations from witnesses in this area have occurred. However, we are still looking for the associates who are with the deceased, as they have yet to come forward to the police. The investigators are asking that those associates to please contact the police. Both investigations are still ongoing. Have any questions?
Is there a connection between those 3 murders?
No, the connection is between the Dufferin Gates and with the Muzik Club.
Is there forensic evidence about bullets found at both scenes?
I can't elaborate any further at this time.
Do you know motive?
Motive is still something that's being looked at by the investigators. The reason why I'm here is, instead of nitpicking, we've got thousands of people that were present, and out of the thousands of people, we don't have that cooperation. Whenever we try to solve homicide cases, it's not just the law enforcement that makes these outcomes be successful. When you look at our second investigation, where we have a high level of cooperation, we're moving the investigation in a much more rapid manner. Still not over yet, but the level of success is dynamically different. So when people do not assist with investigations, what it does is it encourages those that decide to bring firearms to locations to use it. Fear for the people that carry firearms, the biggest fear is when people talk. And when you don't talk, it encourages these types of people to carry firearms with them.
Chief, this was a Drake event. Do you think Drake could do more to bring people in and encourage people to come forward?
I'm not going to start picking on people and individuals. There were thousands of people that were there. I want anyone that has anything to do with this investigation, that has any knowledge or thinks they have knowledge, or if someone has spoken to them, I need them. We're appealing to them to come forward.
How did the gun get onto the grounds of Muzik Nightclub, given the security that was in place? Is there lax security at the VIP entrance?
Well, I don't know what the gaps were that caused that to happen, and I know that that is being looked into, and hopefully we will get the answers, and more importantly, steps and measures that will be taken to ensure that that gap gets resolved.
Chief, the paid duty officers that have now been pulled from Muzik, according to Mike McCormick, What are the reasons for that, given that public safety really is the reason that I believe that Muzik has hired these 10K duty officers, which is something they're proactively doing?
Well, let's be clear. AGCO is responsible for issuing, suspending, and terminating a liquor license. And with this particular incident, there's obviously a gap because people have been shot. There is a responsibility to investigate, to look at what the gaps are, and then to fix those gaps so that the public is safe and the police officers are safe as well, too.
So you support the decision then to pull the paid duty officers from that venue?
I support the decision to make sure that we fill in any gaps that we have that can enhance security.
One of the reasons the paid duty was cut off, though, is because of officer safety in part, right? There could be the argument that maybe Muzik Nightclub should be closed because it's not safe for paid duty officers.
I'm not answering into that argument. What I'm saying is that there are definitely gaps. We need to establish what those gaps are and remedy those gaps.
Chief, you mentioned the need for people to come forward, that was really, is very key in this case. Can you talk a little bit about the response and the cooperation you're receiving from the two victims that are still in hospital and their associates?
I can't talk to that right now. I'm not sure, but I can tell you that there's a dynamical difference in the two cases. And with one case, we have an absence of people coming forward, and in the other, we have people that have stepped up to the plate and exercised their due diligence.
Just to clarify, you said in the difference in the two cases, you mean in the two people who were killed?
I mean in traction, in direction of the investigation, in the amount of evidence that we get. Cases are solved by evidence, and the more evidence we get, the better the chance we are to show what the big picture is. And in one case, we have a lot, and we've got good momentum, and in the other, there's a noticeable absence.
Chief, can we talk about...
said that Ariella, who was shot and killed on Dublin, and the female who was shot and injured and released from hospital on Muzik Nightclub, police described them as innocent victims in this. Are you able to say definitively now, or more definitively now, that one of the three people on Muzik Nightclub, whether it was the individual who was now deceased or the two others that remained in hospital, was the intended target of this shooting?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the evidence that we have right now is the male that was inside the club was an intended target. Yes, and I know for a fact that the young girl was not in any way, shape, or form involved in any incident that would cause her to be in this way. And there was the other lady was that was taken to the hospital was also not in any way involved in any altercation and was just was also innocent.
What about the two others that were shot and injured? One still in serious, one in life threatening, as we understand?
The investigation is still ongoing.
Can we talk about Ariella a little bit, what she was doing? Was she fleeing, or was she just happened to be leaving at the time?
They were leaving. They were leaving.
Just leaving, not fleeing the bullets that were flying inside the Muzik Nightclub?
Well, I can't get into that detail. I don't know.
Chief, it's been reported there's a working theory that the gun made its way over the fence into Muzik, not through the doors. Are you aware that the owner of Muzik was just last summer wanted to raise the fence to 9 feet from 6 feet, but was told because of municipal bylaws he couldn't do that?
Oh, I can't deal with speculation, so I don't know how the guns got in, and I know that the investigators, and I've got some of the best investigators on this particular case to determine how those firearms got in. I know that the owner has been very cooperative with assisting the investigation and also taking steps to identify what the gaps could be to remedy those gaps as well.
But to pull paid duty officers, is that not saying to these gang members or whoever is responsible for this brazen shooting, you know what, we're walking away here? I mean, isn't that the message you're sending by saying, we're not going to police this because it's a danger to our officers?
Well, let's get some clarity on this. First and foremost, public safety is number one, and I've made it very, very clear that what we're trying to do is we're trying to identify what the gaps are. We want those gaps fixed. We're working with that club. That club readily admits that there are things that need to be fixed and are taking every step to make it fixed. So pulling and pushing is not the issue. What I'm interested in is to make sure that any space that we have in the city of Toronto, if there's something that's causing injury or harm, I want to make sure that we identify what the cause is, and then I want that cause to be fixed.
Well, when you have a man who's gunned down and killed fatally, who's on house arrest in a club, how is a club owner supposed to know when Toronto police don't even have surveillance saying that guy shouldn't be in this club, he should be at home, he's under house arrest?
The reason why I'm here is I'm asking for people that were there. There were thousands of people were there. I want them to come forward. When it comes to the other issues that concern people that are under arrest and have conditions, yeah, we need to work with the agencies to make sure that steps can be taken to enhance compliance.
Chief, when you talk about it was forensically linked to two from the one outside the Dufferin gates, was it an ongoing gun battle that was going on?
Well, I can't answer to that. I'm being cautious with some of the information because I know that there are many people that are out there, and this provides an opportunity now. When we say that they're both linked, there are two opportunities to have witnesses that either saw something at the Dufferin gate or saw something in the club that can provide information to us. And to give the storyline that A was a continuous one act, I'm not suggesting that at all.
I've got two elements to ask them. The first one is what the reason you're here, and I think it's a concern to a lot of people that obviously there's people that have pictures that know things. I'd like you to address what you think the reason is and what you could use as the chief in terms of help from the government, in terms of a fund or something to encourage people to do more. And the second thing is I was hoping you could address the elephant in the room, which is, you know, the spike in gun violence this year, which is significant and what's been addressed, and how it relates to this and what you're doing about it, what your concerns are. Those two are my two questions.
Okay, good. I forgot the first question, but I can talk about the second.
About the, you know, there's a culture that's talked about, you know, snitching and ratting and that, and then of course, there's nothing honorable about not helping police in many people's views, Mike. I would like you to elaborate more on that.
Okay.
The reason you're here is that people are not helping. Why aren't they helping? What can you get and do to help that?
You know, there are a lot of factors that have put us in this way. First and foremost, a lot of people are afraid. They're afraid to come forward and they're afraid to talk because they fear that something may happen to them. I'm very aware of that. But you have to understand that this city as a whole is the safest urban city in North America. And it's because we do have good law enforcement, but we also do have good citizens. And 9 out of 10 of our investigations, people do come forward and they do assist us and they do allow us to have the completion where we get to make an arrest. But we can't arrest our way through this. And so if everyone is thinking that the police are going to be doing everything and we're all encompassing, that's not the case. We have to have a strong working relationship with the community, with other agencies. There are a lot of young men that are using firearms as a decision maker, and we need to get in front of that. You know, we've got housing, healthing, income, education issues in the lower percentile, people making bad decisions. We need better role models. We need better agencies to work with us to develop better citizens. So that's the first question. Now, your second question was what?
This is a spike. I mean, it's really ugly.
Yeah.
The numbers are ugly.
Okay, so there's a 57% increase of firearm discharges in the city this year compared to last year. And there's a 52% increase of people that have been shot by firearms. And that's not just in Toronto, that's right across North America. We've noticed that there's this spike, and it tends to go up and down. I can tell you, though, that the numbers that we're dealing with right now are less than they were in 2012. But still, getting in front of it is an important piece. What we need to do is, we as a police agency, we're working stronger with our intelligence-led components that we've put in place. We're working with the uniformed officers, and we're coming up with plans to anticipate where to go and why to go there and distribute our officers accordingly. But the second thing, like I said, is we have to get in front of it as a community, and we have to work with the other agencies so that these young men can make better decisions.
These people that you consider persons of interest, have you caught them on camera in any capacity? You have pretty good descriptions of them. Is that thanks to video surveillance? And if so, why aren't you releasing their images?
You know what? I'm sure the investigators will have an opportunity to update on that. I haven't drilled down into the investigation. I just have certain portions of the investigation, and my knowledge is limited.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the role of duty officers in a situation like this, specific to this, and if not, generally? What do they do in a situation like this?
Well, when people apply for pay duties, they put in what the conditions are and what the request is for the pay duty officers. In this particular case, last year there was an incident that happened outside which had a fatal outcome, and so there was an issue where they wanted a presence outside to make sure that that didn't happen again. So under these circumstances, that was what the roles and involvements were for the pay duty officers.
Have you ever considered pulling paid duty officers from Caravana since they've had gun violence there? I mean, one could argue that why haven't you pulled pay duty from other events where there's been gun violence over the years?
Well, like I said, you know what, it's public safety is my number one concern, and what we do is whenever there is an issue, we look for gaps to see what determined that particular issue, and then we try with every ounce that we can to figure out how we can fix those gaps so that we can reduce injuries or loss of life or anything. So there is no difference in how we police. It's the exact same way. Whenever something does happen, we go back to the drawing board, we do an assessment to see what happened, what the gaps were, and then we fix them.
Was there a failure?
In the absence of the cooperation you're looking for photo and video, I mean, there's a lot from that night out there in the ether. What are your officers doing to track that down on their own if people aren't willing to volunteer to investigators?
Well, our investigators, anytime they get any information, whether it is information or whether it's evidence, they are aggressively on it. And we can only deal with cases based on the evidence that's provided and based on the evidence that we can find, whether it's through witnesses, whether it's through forensics, or whether it's through CCTV cameras or informants or agents or any of those things for any conventional type of investigation. This portal is something that's also necessary for us to utilize so that, because we know that there'll be people that were taking pictures. So we use absolutely any tool and every tool that we can to gather evidence and or information to solve any of our investigations.
Are you digging through, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook on your own if you aren't willing to provide?
We are doing absolutely everything that we can from an investigative perspective to try and solve this case. Absolutely everything.
Chief, do we know anything, I know earlier when this first happened, it was unclear how many guns were involved. Do we have a better idea of how many weapons there perhaps were involved?
No, I do not know.
Have we recovered any weapons? Have you recovered any weapons?
Not to my knowledge.
When you say the two scenes are forensically connected, is it possible, the scenario is that there was a shooting in the club and then there was a retaliation on the street as the gunman tried to get away? Is that a possible scenario?
That's speculation. They're only going to follow the evidence, and there's nothing that indicates that in a pinpoint fashion.
Music's not being closed since the actual shooting itself. Is there any way or any chance that police would intervene at all to try to keep it closed in the meantime while you try to identify these gaps that you're talking about?
Well, we're working, we're focusing on the investigation, and as I stated, I'm here because this appeal is necessary. I know that it's very solvable when you have this many thousands of people in the club, and I know that Torontonians are good people. That's why it's such a safe city, and I know that someone out there is just sitting on that fence deciding whether or not they should help the police or not, and I'm encouraging that one witness could be the pivotal point of this entire investigation. I know that the owners of the clubs are taking every precaution as well to assist in minimizing this from happening again, and they're taking overt steps in remedying that problem.
What do you seem very confident this is going to be solved, but I mean, in terms of investigation, it looks like we're pretty much at the same place we were a week ago. How is it that you're so sure that this is solvable then?
Because every case is solvable. This was not done in a vacuum. This was done in front of thousands. That increases the chances of this being solvable. This wasn't done in a closet in a basement. It was done in a public space with thousands of people. And so, you know what? It's hard to keep thousands of people silent. And so I want to keep that conversation going. I want people to talk about this and what they saw. And that way we can extract those pieces and formulate that big picture that we can then have an opportunity to move closer towards solving it.
What is it, Chief, that you...
And the thousands of people who were there, what about the friends of the people who were involved, including the friends of the intended target who were also there? Are they cooperating with you guys in your investigation? And if not, what recourse do you have?
Well, I'm not saying that absolutely nobody cooperated, but I'm saying that the numbers of people that could cooperate could be substantially more, and I do mean substantially more. A couple of people have cooperated, and when it comes to penalties, I'm not interested in penalties and giving warnings. I want people to do the right thing for the right reasons. And I know that when people talk, people are less likely to pull out guns because they know that if people talk, they're going to go to jail.
The man killed on Bay Street, does he have a criminal record or defend with weapons?
You know what? I don't know. I don't recall.
And were you mentioning the Bay Street murder just to kind of give us an idea of when people come forward versus the Muzik murder, when people do not come forward?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yay, Eureka. That's exactly it. That is exactly it. We have cases that get solved because people step up and they assist us. And when they assist us, we can make those arrests and we can keep our city safer. And that's why Toronto is one of the best cities, because we do have a relationship with the community. And we're asking people to continue that relationship so that we can solve crimes. It is a together factor. It's not just up to law enforcement. We need witnesses. We need people to appeal. And when that happens, we have great outcomes.
And to clarify with music, sorry, the two men that you gave the descriptions of, they were called persons of interest as of last week, but you mentioned they were suspects. Are they suspects now? Is that official?
Yes, that is correct.
Chief, is this an unusual case? Like, this is the second time, or it's been several times that this appeal has gone out for people to come forward, and it's a week later now. Would you characterize this as unusual or something you haven't seen before?
No, I wouldn't characterize this as unusual. Listen, our men and women are concerned, and we want to, you know, the victims of this, we owe it to anyone that gets hurt in the city to find the people that caused that and bring them before the judicial system. So me making another appeal, especially when there's great potential, because as I've said over and over again, we have thousands of people that were there. So the solvability, the ability to solve this is very high, and I'm hoping that anyone that has their moral compass turned on will do the right thing.
Chief,
Back
this
to,
is a
back
man
to
who's
Drake for a
well.
second. Do you not find it kind of odd that it's his event, there's a shooting in it, there was a shooting at his event the year before, and we're hearing nothing from this superstar who can reach so many people and his followers who are at this thing? He's not saying anything.
Listen, I don't want to get dragged into that. What I want is people to talk. That's what my problem is. People are not talking. It doesn't matter who it is. If you were there and you saw something, I'm not interested in your status. I'm interested in if you saw something, I need you to talk. I need you to provide that information to our officers. And if I start singling out that it has to be a person, then I'm doing a disservice. There were thousands of people there. I need them to talk. That's what's most important.
And
But
then
Chief,
what
if
what
this
is it that you're
appears to
looking
be on
for?
the face
What-
of
what is it?
gang-related-
What little piece of the puzzle is it that, if there's somebody there that night, said, I saw nothing, I got a couple of pictures, what is it that you're looking for, your investigators need?
Well, one of the problems with investigations, particularly homicide investigations, a lot of people, it's a series of small parts that make the whole. And so you see something, but you think that it's irrelevant, and so you dismiss it. But the problem is that's the link that connects to what's in front of it and what's behind it. And the more pieces that we get, the bigger the picture we have. And once we have a bigger picture, it allows us to make those arrests. We can go past the threshold of just knowing who did it, but don't have the evidence, to knowing who did it, having the evidence, and then bringing the person before the judicial system. So a lot of people just go, I'm not going to bother because, you know, that little piece that I saw means nothing, when in fact it means a lot. It means a lot.
Chief, you're asking people to come forward and testify, perhaps in a court of law, against a man who appears to be involved with a gang or in a court, you know, and he's a man with a very long criminal record. What safety can you have to understand there's a code of silence in cases like this because of the fact he was gunned down and the way he was gunned down. I mean, what do you say to those people who are afraid? And clearly that may be part of the reason that you're having difficulty getting witnesses.
To people that are afraid, I'm asking for them to do the right thing. We have many cases where people are afraid, and many people come and they testify, and we have successful outcomes. And we put people who are making very bad decisions that are hurting people, we incarcerate them. But I've got to say this over and over again. This isn't about arresting our way through society. That's in a sense, it's a loss. When someone has killed somebody and we go out and we make that arrest, the victory would be if we were in front of that. If we're in front of that, where our young men and people who are not making the right decisions, if we're in front of that and giving them an opportunity to make the right decision, that's a success story. But when we come to this, it saddens me that people are saying, as an option, I can pull a firearm out and shoot somebody. I think that there are a lot of things that we need to put in place, not just law enforcement, to prevent and to reduce those types of decisions.
Chief, you mentioned the incident that happened last year, the same thing last year outside, off the grounds of Muzik Nightclub, but there was also gun crimes that took place. Anything to suggest that that incident is related or connected in any way to what happened last week?
There's nothing that indicates that as far as I know at this point in time. I'll take two more.
Chief, you know, there's a lot going on in terms of investigators trying to find out exactly what happened and why it happened. Is it, we've been hearing that there may be a working theory that one of the victims, in this case, was spotted at the club, thought to be a snitch given his court date, and then a gun was brought in. Is that something that you know, comment on?
I don't know. That hasn't. I haven't heard that. Just one more question.
Further to that, I was hearing that he was set to testify at a murder trial as a witness, which would be motive, obviously, for someone to kill him. Can you speak to that?
I don't know if that, I'm sorry, I'm not being coy, I don't know. Okay, thank you very much.
Just wanted to remind you, there's a link here if anyone has any photographs or video footage to upload. That concludes today's conference.